Every single living organism contains building blocks that make up the organism, which include elements such as hydrogen, oxygen, carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus, and sulfur. The movement of these elements through organisms in the environment is called the biogeochemical cycle. The term biogeochemical is a contraction that refers to the consideration of the biological, geological, and chemical aspects of each cycle. The first part of the word bio from biology involves biological organisms like bacteria, plants, and animals. The next part of the word geo involves geological processes like the weathering of rocks. And the last part of the word indicates chemical processes such as the formation of molecules. Plants are critical in many aspects of biogeochemical cycling. They usually are considered as the controlling players of net primary production in all terrestrial and aquatic environments. Plants are important in several key processes involving interacting systems of the Earth, the hydrosphere, atmosphere, and biosphere. These processes are cycles, the water, nitrogen, and carbon cycle, and in each cycle, plants play a key role in maintaining their balance.
Both nitrogen and sulfur cycles are a significant segment or piece of the ecosystem. However, certain toxic compounds are obtained from the nitrogen and sulfur cycles. The toxic compound from the nitrogen cycle is of the following: nitrogen monoxide and nitrogen dioxide. The nitrogen monoxide reacts with ozone, which then produces nitrogen dioxide. Thus, the half-life time of nitric acid holds out in 1 week, then it goes back to the ground in a form called acid rain. In contrast, the toxic compound from the sulfur cycle is of the following: sulfur oxide, sulfur dioxide, and hydrogen sulfide, wherein all the said toxic compounds are considered dangerous or harmful for flora.
And for the anthropogenic effect, although nitrogen is abundant in the atmosphere as dinitrogen gas, it is inaccessible to most organisms in this form. Consequently, nitrogen undergoes a transformation in order for other organisms to use it for growth and energy. Human activities, including the usage of fertilizers and the burning of fossil fuels, contribute to the release of excessive nitrogen. Chemically active nitrogen in fertilizers is immensely beneficial in agricultural productivity. However, excessive use of nitrogen fertilizers results in degradation of soil, water, and air quality. The burning of fossil fuels releases nitrogen in the troposphere as its byproduct. Nitrogen in the atmosphere is directly harmful to humans and can cause respiratory problems.
Sulfur is another element that is absorbed by plants, particularly in its sulfate form, as it is used in the formation of amino acids, proteins, and oils. Plants that absorb sulfur are also consumed by animals in order to gain a certain amount of sulfur to maintain their health. Human activities have contributed to altering the balance of the global sulfur cycle, most especially from burning large quantities of fossil fuels, which contributes to the formation of smog and a phenomenon called acid rain. So, acid rains are formed due to sulfur dioxides being emitted in the Earth's atmosphere. One most notable effect of acid rains are the occurrences of dead or dying trees. This is because aluminum is being leached from the soil, and that aluminum may be harmful to plants as well as animals. And it also removes minerals and nutrients from the soil that trees need in order to grow. So, another effect of an acid rain is that it spreads air pollution like sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxides, as these can cause respiratory diseases like asthma or chronic bronchitis, can render people to breathe with difficulty.
Invasive species directly and indirectly affect ecosystem processes. Ecosystem processes are hypothesized to change when invasive species acquire resources differently from native species, use acquired resources, with efficiencies that differ from native species, alter trophic linkages and resulting food webs, and alter the frequency, duration, extent, or intensity of disturbances. Invasive species also increase rates of nitrogen cycling in forests and grasslands. However, increased cycling rates are not necessarily sustainable and may lead to longer-term shifts in species composition, invasive animals, and harm to the environment. Indirect effects to the geochemical cycle are especially obvious when invasive species differ phenologically or physiologically from native species.
Nitrification. It contributes in the removal of ammonia, which is hazardous to many fish, in wastewater treatment. Melinis meltiflora, or also known as molasses grass. It is a grass commonly utilized as a livestock food and is known for its capacity to grow effectively in low soils, but it is also highly invasive. It was unintentionally introduced over the world and accidentally as a seed contamination. It is hard to eliminate when it is present and poses a hazard to agriculture and the environment. This invasive species grows in dense mats, including native species, altering succession processes, reducing native tree and grass regrowth, and increasing the intensity and frequency of fires.
For epigenetics, two of the most critical elements for plant growth and crop production are nitrogen and phosphorus. Much research has revealed the genetic elements and regulatory networks that play a role in nitrogen and/or phosphorus absorption and use in various model plant species, particularly Arabidopsis and rice in the recent decade. Epigenetic regulation, on the other hand, is increasingly being proven to play an important role in regulating plant responses to nutrient availability.
Plant invasions could be aided by epigenetic mechanisms that contribute to phenotypic variation and adaptation of invasive plant populations, which requires linking epigenetic mechanisms to invaders' traits, abiotic and biotic interactions, and how they relate to invaders' fitness advantages, and thus adaptation. Epigenetic changes affect gene expression in different ways. Types of epigenetic changes include DNA methylation, histone modification, and non-coding RNA.